So we can talk about the concept of fear. So, wasn't particularly sure how I would start this first video. So, I guess just hit record and see what happens. To be honest, it's going to be a bit of a rant, but it is somewhat relevant to, I guess, all of us who are trying to find our way in this world. And to be honest, it's kind of less of me talking to you, but more so, I'm also talking to myself through you because I've come to understand something quite interesting about human nature, at least my nature, but I guess you could also find the equivalent in other people, is that people tend to have ambition, tend to have goals, tend to have, dare I say, dreams. But at the same time, very few of them are willing to do what is required to get those things that they so wish. So, my hope for this rant, this first shot at this, is that some of you may find some value or some relation in whatever it is you're going through, so that you can finally do what it is that you've been putting off. So I've been in the AI engineering and business spaces for about a little over half a decade. And as of recent, I guess I found myself knowingly secluded in a bubble of sorts, if you will, a comfort zone where, like I said before, I got goals. I got things that I'm working on or that I want to work on, but at the same time, not willing to do it for whatever reason. It is quite paradoxical if you think about it. Crazy thing is, it's kind of just the way humans are. It's human nature. It's the baseline. Though I do find it weird because throughout our lives, we have done things that are just as difficult. In a sense, any given point in time, we have one time or the other pushed ourselves outside our comfort zone. We as people tend to want to learn and to develop, to become better. I can personally say, even for myself, despite my flaws and insecurities I've had in the past, for which there have been many, we always tend to have that sense of drive in us to become better. As we reflect, sometimes we tend to see that that part of us has dwindled, or it's not being used as much as it was. And it isn't as if it has disappeared or anything. I think it's just human complacency and being comfortable with where you are, despite knowing that your potential and what you want to achieve is so much more. To be honest, I think some of us subconsciously think that we've won. I can personally say, I'm not trying to be facetious or arrogant, but with some of the accolades or achievements that I've made in terms of things like fitness, leadership, and more, and in all the praise that I received alongside that, I think a part of me became lazy in a sense, kind of arrogant. I mean, to a degree, the periods in my life where I felt like I didn't want to lead anymore. For whatever reason, I thought maybe it was too much of a hassle, so I just let other people do it. But as I also think about it, all the accolades, all the praise, I also come to the realization that we are not particularly entitled to anything. Nothing in this world is ours, no matter how much or how hard we try and beg and plead and say that it is. But if we do want something, we can't sit on our hands and expect it to fall out the sky. We kind of have to get up and go and get it. Though in reality, myself included, we all have an ego. We all have a sense of pride. But more than that, and you think that beneath all that, people are just afraid. As we get older, the world becomes more uncertain. Because if you think about it, when we were younger, we had all these walls surrounding us, keeping us safe from the outside to a degree, where we knew that our actions would lead to certain consequences. So we are not fearful because we knew the outcome before we performed the action. But as we grew, those walls slowly started to crumble. We started to get exposed to the uncertainty in this world. And one of those big walls that I think affects a lot of us is the duration, the gap between the actions we have to take and the reward that we get. Especially as we get older, that gap, that duration, that time grows drastically. And what's worse is that, well, unfortunately, we live in a society that prides itself on short-term gratification. We carry one of those devices of short-term gratifications in our pockets every single day. So, when we actually start something, we tend to stop somewhere in the middle because our expectations did not bend reality to our whim, and we did not get the reward that we sought at the exact time that we wanted it. But that's no excuse. I think a lot of people don't truly try or don't even start because of a fear of failure, or dare I say, to a degree, even a fear of success. I myself am also in that boat, but it isn't as if we don't have the skills or the capabilities to win or to figure out how to. It's just that we give too much energy to the uncertainty and the false realities that we replay over and over in our heads. So just like the Latin root, we put it forward to tomorrow and procrastinate, which is why, unfortunately, some of those dreams and aspirations people have or say they have dwindle to nothing but a life of mediocrity. It is said that most valuable place in the world is the graveyard, because that's where all dreams go to die. I guess to end this rant, relatively speaking, it is easy to win. It is, really. Because I've come to the realization that very few people are actually willing to do what is required to win, despite how great their aspirations may be. Motivation is overrated because motivation dwindles fast. The discipline to keep going, even when everything around you goes dull, that's what it takes. That's the difference between those who seclude themselves to their bubble and those who push forward, the pioneers, if you will. We've all done things that have been difficult, that took a lot of time. But as that gap and as that uncertainty grows larger and larger, for some weird reason we feel as though those things that we did in the past never happened. But you did it. It just happened so long ago that you forget the pain that you've endured to get to where you are. The pain that it took to get the rewards that you've already been blessed with. And this is actually something that is so abundant in human nature, that humans always tend to forget the pain, but always remember the reward. Let's take a few examples. Take drinking, right? Drinking. If you ever been young, just I guess all of us, you've probably gone to a party or two every now and then. And if you've never drunk anything, then you probably know somebody who has. I've experienced someone who has. And what do they usually tell you the next day? That they'll never drink again? They have a raging hangover and they regret everything that they did last night. But then what do you see the next weekend? They're back at it again. Back at the bar, taking drinks, taking shots, as if nothing ever happened. All for the reward of that buzz, of that night. In my positive light, I'm a guy of fitness, so let's talk about fitness. So, imagine somebody who is morbidly obese, right? And they're trying to lose weight. I myself can relate to this, but imagine you're just trying to lose weight, right? What do you usually do? You go on a diet, right? And you lift weights, you work out. But what do you tend to always remember? Every time you walk past a bakery and you see a bunch of sweets, or you walk past or drive past Domino's and you can smell that freshly baked pizza in there, you remember the sugar cravings. You remember the food. You remember the sweets. You remember the donuts. You remember the cake remember the pizza. But what don't you remember? Well, you don't remember how you're out of breath just by walking a few steps on the stairs. You don't remember not being able to bend down and tie your shoelaces. You don't remember the years of back pain you had to carry because your body couldn't handle all the weight. You don't remember dripping in sweat profusely just by taking a leisurely stroll. It's just human nature. It's the way it is. You always like the reward. You never remember the pain that it took. So it isn't impossible to win. Isn't it possible to do something? It's just going to take time. To be honest, at the beginning, you're probably going to suck. I mean, look at this video right now. I know it's probably not going to be my best work. It's probably terrible. And the quality is definitely not something equivalent to the top people out there that I've been running for the past 10 years. And I know I can do better. It's just going to take time. Bring in another example for those who want to be fit, or for those who are already fit. When going to the gym, if you remember your first day, how did you feel? You felt nervous, didn't you? You felt afraid? You didn't want to make eye contact with anybody? You thought the biggest guy in the gym was going to crush you with his hand? Or you even tried to work out and you had no idea what you were doing? You fell off a treadmill? Or you tried to pick up 40 kg dumbbells and face planted on the rack? We've all been there. We're all terrible at one point. But we still went in, day out, because we had a goal. We had a mission. So it's okay to suck, because everyone else has and will in anything and everything new that they try, including you. It's just about whether you're willing to keep going and get better in spite of that, or give up before seeing any progress, seeing the fruits of your labor. So I guess that's my little rant, and I guess a declaration of a first video. And I suppose this channel will be kind of a documentation, more or less, of things that I have learned in the previous fields that I talked about, and maybe a few random videos like this every now and then. But just remember, it's so much easier to win, but in reality, it will be harder than you imagine. So, I guess rightfully so, with these types of videos, you always have to end it with a quote, am I right? So, I guess I'll leave you with something that I always look on anytime I try and start something new and I feel the shadows of doubt in my mind. But there's some things that you can't be sure of. You must take a chance. If you wait for perfect weather, you will never plant your seeds. If you're afraid that every cloud will bring rain, you will never harvest your crops. Ecclesiastes 11:4. So looking forward to it, and until next time, I'm in your corner. I'm rooting for you.